So if I would have been thinking the way I'm thinking now at 16, I'd be worth $1 million more at this current moment. I'm going to share exactly the mindset hack that I had when I was about 23 years old that's been developing even until this day. And I want everybody to be able to develop this mindset hack, but it does take time and it's not immediate. But I'm going to take you back to where I was when I was a child and the reason I was the way I was early on. So in 2008, my parents lost everything in the '08 collapse. Everybody knows about the '08 housing crisis. My dad was a single provider in our household of 4 boys, and he was unfortunately in the mortgage world. So that was not ideal for that time in history. So we lost everything. And therefore, I always heard my parents saying, we need to work for our money actively, whether we're doing shift work, whether we're going to work, whatever. We have to work actively for our money. And when we get our money, we need to save our money. And what I didn't realize was the muscle I was developing at such a young age when it came to this. And so the whole entire time growing up, I always thought I had to save money. And naturally, that sounded like a very smart thing to do when you're a young person. You see your parents lose everything and you're like, well, I probably should save some money. So any young kid, especially me, I got my first job at Skyline Chili in Cincinnati, Ohio. And I started making decent money between that. I went to McDonald's, I went to Oriental Walk, I worked construction, I worked mason work, I worked at the pool, I worked everywhere, landscaping, like literally anything you could think of. I worked as a kid. I was making good money and I worked a decent amount for my age. Outside of sports, outside of school, I was always working. And so I would take that money and I would go over to my PNC bank and I would put my money in that bank. And the unfortunate part about that is I wasn't earning anything, but I was saving. And that's what I was always conditioned to do. So therefore I felt great about it. I was balling. I remember in college, I had my friends over and they're like, how much money do you have? I don't know why that was the question, but I told them $10,000. All this earned income I could have been putting into a Roth IRA this whole entire time was sitting in a PNC bank account, earning probably less than 0.0001%. And I was sitting there with a confidence, and that wasn't right, but that's the reason I was broke at that time. No matter if I had cash, I was never wealthy. I was actually broke. When I actually understood this game from a balance sheet perspective, a net worth perspective, I was like, wow, I have $10,000 in cash. I have no cash flowing assets. I have a bunch of student loan debt. I have a car debt. I have et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, with all this debt, and I only have $10,000 to my name. I'm actually operating at a negative net worth. So in 2015, when I graduated college, I actually had a negative $8,000 net worth, but I was saving and I felt good. And this is the exact reason I was broke. This is the exact reason many people are broke. It's not because they have bad intentions. It's not even because of a discipline issue. It's because of a misunderstanding. And if they have more education, they're going to change their whole entire life. And if they had this mindset hack that I used to change my life, they would do the same. And so I'm going to share exactly what that is. When I was growing up, like I said, I was saving money to quote unquote build wealth, but I didn't really know what wealth was. I didn't come from a family that talked about wealth. I didn't come from a family that talked about money. In fact, I had zero education from that standpoint. There was no school class that taught me this either. And so I thought I was doing decent. I didn't realize until I became a CPA and I started assessing companies and looking at their balance sheets and their income statements, all these kind of things, their financials of how people got wealthy, because the way companies get wealthy are really how people get wealthy. And I took those concepts and I applied it to personal finance and it worked like magic. But there was a very, very key difference in my mindset that allowed me to take my negative $8,000 net worth and expand well past $1 million at the age of 32. We're talking a 9-year gap, 23 to 32. So at 30 years old, we crossed that millionaire mark. But from 23 to 30, this mindset that I was developing was a muscle that I kept working and working and working on, eventually to the point where now it's totally opposite. So at 16, I was saving all my dollars. And if I would have invested that money instead of saving that money from 16 to 23, like I said, I'd be worth $1 million more today. But I didn't know that. And that's okay. But now I'm going to teach everybody else to get over this hump. And the ability to teach your children is even going to be more powerful than teaching yourself, but you have to teach yourself first. So now the only way I look at money when it comes in is an exchange of value. The green piece of paper or the number on the screen that's going up isn't really doing anything until you put it somewhere, until you buy an asset, until you buy education, until you buy access to other people, higher thinking people with better skill sets, until I put it into the stock market, until I put it into the real estate market, until I do all of these things, it is nothing. It's just sitting there allowing me to do something with it. And most people never get past that stage. They keep money hoarded and they feel safe and they feel secure, but in fact, it's actually taking everything away from you, because when you're afraid to let go, you have a scarcity issue. And that's exactly what I had. And that's what I'm trying to get a lot of people over. And I know there's different cultures out there, and I know a lot of specific cultures have always been told to hoard money. And until you have that aha moment, because you're actually watching this video, and you might need to watch it 4 more times for it to make sense and to really truly have the aha moment, it's gonna be hard to get over this and it's gonna take time. Now, the mindset shift I've had from 23 to 32 current day is I spend money to make money. And I know that doesn't sound revolutionary, but again, it's the click in your brain where it actually truly makes sense to where you can apply it into real life. I don't hold any money. In fact, we hold no more than $5,000 in cash at any point in time in our bank account, because everything we have is going to assets. I invest in education. I invest in skill sets. I invest in access to people to help me with skill sets for my business. I invest in the stock market. I invest in real estate. I invest in other businesses. That's what I do with my money. I don't have any cash. In fact, when it comes in, I'm itching now, which I used to be itching to receive the money and keep it. I am itching to release my money into the ecosystem to provide more wealth. And that's the only way you're going to build real wealth. If you think that saving money is going to make you wealthy, you aren't listening to the right people. Now, am I going to say that an emergency fund for a freak accident is a bad idea? Absolutely not. Am I going to say that saving money for a particular purpose, like a car in the short term, is a bad idea? No. But what I want to do and what I want to rewire my brain to think is I'm spending money into a fund in order to gain the car that I want. I'm spending money into the sinking fund to provide money for me to get that house that I want. That's the way I think about things now. And so every time I think about cash and people tell me they have $100,000 of cash on hand, I'm like, what are you doing? What is the goal? And like, well, I feel good with it. I'm like, okay, do you want to feel good or do you want to be good? Do you want to look good or do you want to be good? A lot of people look really wealthy. They drive the fanciest cars, they have the best clothes, they have the best house, and they're broke as a doorknob. And so the thing is, when you want to switch this game up and actually become wealthy for the long term, you have to think differently. You have to think about, I'm spending my money to make more money, because what happens when you're saving money, you have a scarcity mindset behind that money. And that's a very detrimental effect long term for not only your money, but everything you else allow into your life. When I have money and I'm saving it, I'm afraid to go spend at the convenience store because I don't want to spend more money. Or I have an option to upgrade to premium, but I'm afraid to because I had to spend more money. And I sit there in this scarcity mindset my whole life versus letting it flow, because you know you'll receive it back, because you have the skill sets to receive it back, because you've invested in those skill sets. You've invested in the education. You've had financial literacy added to the picture within the education. You know exactly how to handle your money. So now there's no fear. And when you take away that fear from your situation, now I know it's coming back. I know I can take that money. I can circulate into this real estate market. I can circulate it into the stock market. This is a huge reason I got wealthy. At 23 years old, my mentor at Deloitte said, I have to invest in my 401k. And I said, I don't know about that. I feel uncomfortable. I felt uneasy, but I did anyway, because I trusted my gut and that she was making the right decision for me. And I didn't feel great about it, but I did it. And it took a while until I saw the compound interest effect, until I saw the dividends hit. Then I started seeing my money making money and my head exploded. I was like, this is what they're talking about. This is why the wealthy get wealthy. It's not luck. It's not just happenstance. You get to choose to become wealthy. The stock market doesn't discriminate. I don't care where you came from, what your skin color is, or how you talk. If you put money in the stock market and there's the same investment I have, your money's going to work exactly the same. And that's the beautiful thing about it. There is no discrimination and there is equality within the stock market to a certain extent. And when you allow that to come into your life, you start to give more. You start to receive more, and your whole entire mindset will shift the way you receive and the way you give. And then the wealth game becomes very easy. But it took me so long to understand this conceptually, have the aha moment. It took a lot of exercising of that muscle to get there. It also selfishly, as I built my Budgetdog community, I was talking about paying off debt in the beginning, but as you know, I built a huge community with the Budgetdog Academy, and that community looks up to me to show them exactly what I'm doing. And if I stay in a scarcity mindset, I'm not going to show them how to build true wealth. So I have technically societal pressure that I put myself in to perform better for my people, because I love them and I want them to do the best. And so if I do this, I know they will take this lead and they'll take all this wisdom and they'll actually apply it to their situation. And so all I'm doing is sharing exactly what's happened to me. If you haven't caught on yet, that's all I really do. I only just share what I've actually done, how I've gotten to where I'm getting, and how exactly step by step how you could do the same thing if you want to. Nobody is forced to become wealthy. You don't have to become a multimillionaire. You don't have to grow your own business. You don't have to do all these things if you don't want. But I think a lot of people are allowing themselves to be scared, and they're allowing their fear to actually hold them back from being the best self. And I don't think at all times they even realize they're doing that to themselves. But they said, well, my family doesn't come from wealth. My family saves money. Therefore, I'm protected. My ego is protected over here. This is how we've always done it. So we're going to continue to do it. It kind of worked. It hasn't truly worked if you're not doing whatever you want, whenever you want, with whoever you want. So when you get to that point where I'm truly at this current moment, I'm filming a YouTube video at Tuesday afternoon after I just took my daughter to a doctor appointment in the morning, and I have nowhere to be. I'm going to go to the dentist today because I chose to. I'm going to go work out because I chose to. I'm going to go on a walk with my daughters today because I chose to. But that wealth mindset stemmed from this mindset hack. And I want everybody to start to apply this stuff, because you're going to get a lot wealthier a lot faster. And the more you jump into this wholeheartedly, the better results you're going to get. If you're 1 foot in, 1 foot out, you're not going to get it. Also, surrounding yourself with a community like the Budgetdog Academy, that's going to change your life forever. I can guarantee it. I know it is, because I've seen it happen to my students. And I've also selfishly seen it happen to myself. The more we have societal pressure, the more we put ourselves in a community that wants to win with not only money, but fitness, faith, family, all these types of things, you're going to naturally level up if you put yourself in that group. But a lot of people are fearful for all sorts of different reasons, and they're shameful about their money, and they don't have to be. But once you get past this stage, I can tell you, every one of you will level up. When that aha moment clicks, your eyeballs are about to light up. So I hope this helps. It's a little different of a video, but I want to give you some insight into a mindset hack that I've transformed my entire life with. And it's so simple, but it takes time and exercise and consistency to get there. And eventually it builds and builds and builds and builds, and it still is building today. So it's an ongoing type of thing. But anyways, guys, I will see you next Monday.